Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I hope you can hear me. I hope you can see me. My name is David W. Coleman. I am glad you were able to join me this afternoon or tonight, East Coast, West Coast, where that might be. This is my first webinar. This is pretty unique. The wonders of modern technology. Now, I'll tell you what I'm doing here. I'm using Google Plus, and I hope everybody can hear me. But I'm using Google Plus, and it's a great little app, and you can kind of do things like this to help support your business. So tonight, what we're going to talk about is grant writing, and what I'm trying to do right now is wait and give a few people enough time to get in here. We're going to take about an hour to do this seminar, or this webinar, I should say, and we are going to do another one later on as well. I'll let you know the dates of those coming up here real soon. So I'll be answering your questions on Facebook. If you have questions, by all means, contact me. Let me know what you think. Time to copy that link, go to dynamicpowerpages.com or go to davidwcoleman.net and copy that link. And there's a big link there to tell you where the webinar is. You can send that to your friends. So please, hopefully you'll do that as well. Okay, let's see here. Just trying to get some updates here on what's going on. Okay, cool. So, all right. So 8:04. Want to go ahead and get started with this. Hopefully people can see me, and I'm just right now, I have my tablet here, and I kind of multitask, and I'm just kind of checking all of my links to see if everything's going okay. Hopefully it is here, so we'll check here in just a moment on all of those. But I'll tell you a little bit about me. I've been in grant writing for, I guess, about 20 years, somewhere in there. I've been helping people write grants. I was part of a couple of nonprofit organizations in Memphis and in Nashville, Tennessee. So I decided that I would kind of help out. There's a lot of money out there that you can get, or your mission. So that's what we're talking about. I want to just make sure that my links are up and showing. So just give me a moment here to make sure everybody can see the links here if you're on your web page. And if not, what I have to do is I'll post the actual YouTube link there in just a moment. Just bear with me just a moment here as we do a little troubleshooting on my, okay, so I can see, all right, so yeah, all right, cool. So that looks like everything's gonna work out. We are ready to go here. All right, so So that looks like everything's gonna work out. Okay, so we've got the technique. Sorry about that. We're doing this on the fly, but want to make sure everything is working okay so you can hear this very, very important webinar that we put together for you. Okay, let's go ahead, and I'm gonna share my screen here so we can begin the process. And you should be able to see my screen now. And the name of this program is the Granted Federal Assistance Webinar, Empowering Your Nonprofit to Succeed. Of course, my name is David W. Coleman. I've been doing this particular seminar for quite some time, and I wanted to share it with you. Now, let me be honest with you as we move forward, and let me just tell you a couple of things about me. My company is Shan Barron Associates, LLC. You can go out to that website and check out some of the things that are going on there. All of my company ventures that you see right there, the top 5, a father's family affair. I'm very proud of that. Tell you what, next year, June Father's Day weekend, we want to have a big conference and event here in Little Rock, Arkansas. So start fixing your mind about that. I Love My Children Too is my father's rights organization. Coleman's Dynamic Products is my food business. So go check that out. I think you'll like some of the products that I have there. Dynamic Power Pages is where one of these webinars are being hosted tonight, along with Chan Brand Associates. That's actually davidwcoleman.net. Weekly Sports Magazine, and I do a sports magazine show every Saturday morning from 8 to 10 on joinetradio.com. So I hope you'll check those things out. Some of the other seminars, when you go to davidwcoleman.net, you'll see the Grants and Federal Assistance workshop that we're doing, a segment of that tonight. Another segment is Healing Hurting Men, A Father's Rights for Justice, Fight for Justice. This is issue about fathers in custody. So this is a hard-hitting seminar. I'd love to come to your church, your synagogue, and let's talk about the issues of fathers from a legal standpoint as well as a family standpoint. The Teenage Survival Kit is a webinar or a seminar that I do for young people, girls and boys ages 12 to 21 to young adults, and it's really about making choices. And The Pain of Vengeance is my novel that I posted a couple of years ago that we are going to get reprinted. So that's a little bit about me, all right? Thank you again for joining me. I'm very, very excited that you're here tonight. I want to tell you that I'm here to empower your organization to succeed. That's what I want to do, okay? And that's what we're going to start on tonight. So I want to remind people that if you're in the Little Rock area, July 9th at the Antioch Full Gospel Baptist Church in College Station, Arkansas, I will be doing the full 4-hour seminar, the Donna Grady Creer Annual Gospel Announcers Guild Conference. We put up a partnership. There's a fee that you will have to pay. Make sure you contact Jenny Love. That number is 870-210-1123. Now, this seminar that we're going to do on July 9th is a 4-hour seminar. And as I talk to you today, this is the seminar that I want to come and teach at your business. And we'll talk about that. What I'm going to do tonight is just going to wet your whistle. All right? There's so much more to go in depth about this that there's no way possible that we can do it in 1 hour. So if you're in the Little Rock area, July 9th, it'll be in 2 segments. It starts from 10 to 12, we'll break for lunch, and then from 1 to 3, we'll wrap up. Now, let me be honest with you. You can't come to the second part and you miss the first part together. So we won't be going, if you come to the second part, you're going to miss the first part, and really you're not going to get all you need. But if you want to do that, you're more than welcome. Just remember, July 9th, that's at the Antioch Full Gospel Baptist Church, 3824 Antioch Boulevard in College Station, Arkansas. And again, contact Jenny Love at 870-210-1123 for more information. That's the Donna Grady Creer Arkansas Gospel Announcers Guild Conference. We'll be doing the Grants and Federal Assistance Seminar right there. Hope to see you there. Now, as I said earlier, I can't teach you to be a successful grant writer in just 1 hour. All right, that's why I'm inviting you to this conference. And of course, I want to come to your business. So here are a couple of goals that we're going to have for today. Why I feel this seminar is important. Keeping up to date with federal funding and programs has never been an easier task. And more importantly, the fiscal year begins for government agencies July 1st. This is when they're going to be releasing all the information about grants. This is the time to get started and get on it, okay? We're also going to dispel some of the myths of grant writing, and we're going to give you a little information about the grant funding cycle. We're going to do all of that right here in an hour, and we're going to teach you more information about utilizing foundations. But to get the full seminar, we're going to let you know that there's a great package that you can invest in your nonprofit that can help you build your grant teams and all of those things that are making you more successful as you reach your search for grants. Okay. We'll also talk about web presence. That's very important as well. You got to get a website these days, folks. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You must have a website. If you're in business, nonprofit, whatever the case may be, get a website. They're really inexpensive these days, but it's worth its weight in gold. Now, again, those are the days. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't really want to be your grant writer. Okay, I prefer to come to you and teach you how to utilize these savings when I teach you how to write grants. Okay, that's what I'm saying to you. Now, I'll be honest with you. If you just don't want to deal with this, then I have a grant writing team that is very, very successful. That we can do some research and grants for you. Now, let's be honest with you. The reason I'm putting together this seminar is because it's expensive to hire a grant writer. Let's be real about that. It's very expensive. So I would rather teach you the tricks and the trades, and let me be honest, there are no tricks. Just the process. And if I teach you that, then you can build your own team and save that money and reinvest in your mission. But again, if you want a grant writer, I've got a couple that's pretty darn good. Me, myself, too. Now, one thing you want to remember as you write grants, you got to know the rules of the game, and it's very, very simple. It's called the golden rule of grants. He who has the goal makes the rule, all right? Again, he who has the goal makes the rule. Simply what that means is, hey, follow the directions of the RFPs, and we'll talk about that in a moment. Don't try to change up stuff. In other words, if I'm going to give you some money, these are my rules. You got to follow them. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Don't use shortcuts. Now, there are 5 major contributors when it comes to grants and where money can be found. Okay. Now, here are the 5, and we go into more of this when I do the full seminar, and hopefully you'll be able to come here in Little Rock, Arkansas, on July 9th. But if not, I can come to you, or we can set up a personal webinar for your company as well to do this online. But there are 5 major contributors: individuals, federal governments, foundations, bequests, and corporate funders. That's where most of the money comes from. All right? Let's try that again here. That's individuals, federal governments, foundations, bequests, and corporate funders. Now, you need a couple of things to be successful in writing grants. Now, there are things that you can look at here. Now, I'm mainly focusing right now on nonprofit organizations. But maybe you're a small business out there and you want to get a grant. There are parameters that you have to go through as well to be able to be successful in receiving those grants to build your business, home improvement, business improvement, all kinds of those things. And what I suggest to you is you must contact your local administrator, whomever you're pursuing your grant for, whether it's city, local, private funding, whatever the case may be. Now, in this particular case, if you are a nonprofit organization, you need to have a 501c3 designation. Okay. Now, it's nonprofit means the entity, usually a corporation, is organized for a nonprofit purpose. 501c3 means a nonprofit organization that has been recognized by the IRS as a tax exempt by virtue of its charitable programs. They're relatively easy to get, but if you have your ducks in a row, you can typically turn them around in a month. I suggest you hire an attorney and get the paperwork done, set up your board of directors and all of those things. Now, in other words, once you've gotten all that out of the way, to build your organization, what I like to tell people, you want to have a grant writing team. Now, what I mean by that is, now you can get one person who can do all the grants, and you're going to wear that person out. But if you get a team, 3 to 5 members, researchers, writers, and proofreaders, all of them are interchangeable. So let's say, for instance, that one person who is doing the grant, and the grant is due this week or next week, and they haven't really, well, they've got everything together, but they are the ones that are supposed to submit, and they get sick. And God forbid they may die. You ever thought about that? Then if your team is interchangeable, you don't run into those types of problems, okay? So I recommend you having a team. We talk about that as well as we move forward in the larger program. Of course, nowadays, internet access, you got to have that. Here's what I said about an RFP. So an RFP is something that governmental agencies, private organizations, corporations, and nonprofit fund, they are interested in funding particular projects. And they send out these notices. And they tell you who the funder is, what they're wanting, program information, proposal guidelines, evaluation, and all of that stuff is part of the proposal that we'll talk about a little later here. Okay, so that's what an RFP basically is. Now you're probably saying, now where do I get all of that stuff? Well, that's a good question, and we'll talk about those in a little bit. It's coming up. It's a lot easier than you think. That's why I tell people, you got to have internet access. That's the most important thing right now. So here we are, locating federal grants. Boom, look at that. That's called the CFDA. It's the Catalog of Federal Domestic Assistance. All right, it gives you all the information on all the government programs. What I call, it's called the Bible list. Oh, but, when I first started this, now check this out. It's over 2,000 pages. It has more than 1,300 listed programs. 52 federal agencies. It used to cost $75, and it was so big. If you dropped it, it would kill a cat. Wow. So just go out and type in CFDA or Catalog for Federal Domestic Assistance, and you'll be able to get the CFDA very, very easily. Now, that's one place to get it. Now, I want to talk about the grant funding cycle here before we get lost. Now, this is very, very important. And this little diagram here that I put together is the simplest thing, because I want you to understand grants are developed and how the information is disseminated to people who want to get them, okay? So let's start with the red, all right? The red is the federal agency, the foundation, the corporation, whomever that person is that is wanting to give money for a grant. So they start at the beginning of a fiscal year. So the fiscal year for the government agencies, most if not all of them, start January 1st. That's why this seminar is very, very important today. It starts January 1st. So if you're getting ready to start looking for grants for your particular mission, this is the best time to start gearing up and getting ready to start hunting for that money. All right. Now, in this particular case, this particular diagram, a lot of corporations, their fiscal years are January 1st. And begins January 1st. So this is just a 12-month period. So it's just a fiscal year. So I want you to understand that. To the red here, it says needs success. So whatever that particular entity is that has decided that they want to give a grant, they have assessed the needs probably over research the last couple of years. They may have been doing other grants, and this is a spinoff from them. So they assess the needs the first month or so. And then, of course, usually by February, somewhere in there, they publish the final rules. Now, you say, where does this information come from? Remember that document that I just talked about, the CFDA? There are other sources as well, foundations, so there are foundation centers. You can also go directly to those foundations as well. And again, we get more into detail with that when we do our 4-hour seminar, which is what I'd like to come to your organization and do. And we'll talk about that a little bit later, okay? Rules are assessed. So in other words, they assess the needs. They decided that this is what we want to do. We look at the final rules. The final rules are published. And then we decide that, okay, now we want to make the announcement. Now, I'm just using this as an example. Usually, this comes within the first 30 days of that particular fiscal year. All right? They announce the grant, and then it goes all the way around to the end of the fiscal year where it says deadline. And that's the deadline where you have to make your submission. Now, let's go to the yellow. The yellow is actually your grant writing team as they getting ready to make or search and submit a grant. First part of the fiscal year, you're compiling your data. You know what you want to do. You know that you want to start a homeless shelter for veterans. You compile the data. You said, hey, look, this needs to be done in my community. Here's why. So you're already doing that. Then, as you understand, they make their final rules, you begin making your pre-proposal contacts. All right, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. All right, throughout that whole process, and it takes a good 6 months to a year to develop a good proposal. If you're serious about getting your grants, this is it's a lengthy process. All right. So you develop your proposal. Now here's the good thing about it. Once you get it done and you have done it a few times, you kind of get used to it. So you're ready and you're okay with it. All right. So now you get to the proposal development. This is what you're looking at. You're trying to decide how I'm going to propose, make my proposal development, because now you've got the RFP. You know what your grant funder wants. So you're developing your proposal now. Now you get to it around July, and look, that goes from March to September. April, May, June, July, August, September. So that's 7 months. Are you telling me that you can't put together a great grant proposal in 7 months if you have a great team? If you cannot, then you really don't need to be in this business. You need to stop right now. As you go forward, you're still around September, your proposal is refined and you review it. We'll talk about those things as well. And then you submit the proposal. Now, here's what I tell people. If you follow a good process, I usually like to have my grants done a month in advance. Because what if some things come up? What if I've left out something? I have at least a month. If the deadline is December 15th, I want my proposal done November 15th. So I can make sure that I've got everything that I need to do. It's being heads up, all right? Now, that thing up there that says avoid the house enormity syndrome. Now, what happens quite often when you're a single grant writer, this is what you do. You get a piece here, or get a piece here, or get a piece here, and pretty soon you've got nothing done. So let's put it from this perspective, okay? Let's say if you go out and I grew up in a beautiful home, and it's one of those old-fashioned antebellum homes. And in my neighborhood right now, they are coming in, and a lot of these homes are old, and they're being refurbished. There are small business loans and loans that are being made available for you to come in and buy these homes. Really, it's gentrification. Let's be real, but that's another story. But they are coming in and providing these loans for people to come in and do these houses. Now, let's say if I went and got some of these houses, because they're huge, and some of them are pretty dilapidated. I said, okay, look, I want to go in the bedroom, and I want to fix the bedroom first, because the bedroom I want to sleep. I need a place to sleep. I really want to invite some friends over and show them what I'm doing. So I need to fix the kitchen because I want to make sure that I can fix some food for my friends. And then you say, well, no, wait a minute, I need to fix the bathroom because if I'm going to invite friends over, they're going to need to fix the bathroom. They're going to need the bathroom. For them to sit and relax. So I think I'm going to go fix the living room first. Now, if you don't focus on one room, you typically get nothing done. All right? That's what I mean by avoid the house enormity syndrome. Focus on one thing, compile the data for pre-proposal contacts, proposal development, planning and review, and submit that proposal. You can't go wrong, I'm telling you. Okay? All right. By the way, you see that thing in purple that says the advantage of the Federal Registry? We didn't talk about the Federal Registry, but that's another application or program that lists the final rules. Where you see where up there, that second item in red that says publish final rules. Sometimes what happens is the organization will submit and make needs assessment, and then you can go back and they'll requalify or they'll change them. When it comes to the federal agencies, those final rules are often published in what's called the Federal Registry. Okay? Now, Foundation Search, the internet, there are thousands of links. That's one of the other entities that I talked about where you can find grants and proposals. Now, let me just step in and say this. This is very important. You know, I did this seminar a couple of weeks ago, and one of the things that they were running into was the fact that when they were submitting their grants to federal, state, and local agencies, now the fund will say, hey, your proposal is very good, but based on what you are saying, we cannot fund you. Now, here's the bottom line. What they were doing, this was a church, and they were trying to get federal funding for a Christian mission. You're going to run into problems with that because let's say if a Muslim wanted to join your organization, or a Buddhist, or an agnostic, or someone who doesn't believe in Christianity. Would you discriminate against them? If you're taking federal money, you can't. So to get around that, if you have a mission that is a religious-based mission, the foundations are probably your best bet because there are a lot of Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, whatever the case may be. There are plenty of foundations that will believe in what you believe in. And one of the ways that you can go out and find them at the Foundation Center or just search the internet. I tell people all the time that with the internet, Google is a wonderful tool. Okay? Now, we got about 30 minutes to go here. And I want to remind people that if you want to be successful in writing grants, then you have to make an investment in writing grants. And you have to do one or two things. You're going to have to hire a grant writer. Now, that grant writer might charge you $70, $80 an hour. They might charge you a bulk rate like $2,000. But if you set up and do your own grant writing, then you can save that money. All right. Now, what I want to do is be able to come to you and teach you how to write grants. I want to be able to do this full seminar. I want to talk to you about proposal writing tips. Contacts. Those are people that are very, very important that can help you get your grant in the APAL. We're going to get into more detail about that on July 9th, or I can come visit you as well. But let's talk about some of the proposal writing tips and the pre-proposal contacts. Now, a pre-proposal contact is usually an administrator of that grant, or his or her secretary, or there's usually a person that is listed on the RFP as that contact person. Now, what I usually advise people to do, now if you go back to that clock that I showed you, remember where it said pre-proposal contacts, and that was very early in the grant cycle fiscal year. Well, if you follow that particular, that's what I mean here. Now you begin to you can reach out to these people. You can call them, you can write them, hey, you can send them an email nowadays. When I started this, email wasn't a big deal. So you can send them an email now and say, hey, look, my name is John Q. Public. I noticed that you sent out an RFP for veterans that were homeless, and I'm interested in that. I just wanted to let you know that my organization will be applying for that particular grant. Okay. Now check this out. It may increase your chance. Chances for success can increase as much as 300% when grantee establishes close contact with the funder before, during, and after the actual proposal writing process. I'm telling you, pre-proposal contacts are very, very important. Now, when you, let me be honest with you, when you make these contacts, don't call them up and try to take up all the day. Call them up 2 minutes. What I advise people to do is develop an elevator pitch. All right? Call them up, and in 2 minutes, think about it from going from the bottom floor to the top floor. It usually takes about 2 minutes. You know who you are, what you, and let them go. All right? And once you make that pre-proposal contact, make sure you ask them that you already know their information. Make sure you send them a thank you letter for that particular moment and say, hey, look, I know you were busy. Thanks a lot. I appreciate you taking some time out for me. You'll be hearing more from our organization. Now, writing the proposal, remember, as not what they can do for you, but what you can do for them. Okay? Now, remember, there's a technical review. Follow the directions. Don't deviate. Go for the points. Most of the time, when I say go for the points, a lot of times they will tell you what the points are per part of the proposal. All right. Now, go for the points. In other words, spend the most time on the section that will award you the higher amount of points. That doesn't mean that you're doing the other parts, but make sure that you are very, very meticulous in the sections that are for the best points. All right. Don't use boilerplate proposals. Now, you can go out on the internet and find all these proposals. Yeah, you can find them. But just think about it from this perspective. If you found a boilerplate proposal on the internet, how many other people have found that same proposal? And think about it. If 4 or 5 of the same boilerplate proposals come across the desk of that reviewer, and the only difference is the name, what are the odds that you're going to get that particular funding? That reviewer is looking for something different. So avoid the boilerplate proposals, okay? Don't ask for more than what you need. Get to the point. And remember, peer-reviewed grant proposals are very, very important. Now, these are your board. These could be your board of directors. These are very influential people who can actually speak on your behalf and help demonstrate the existence, support of your idea. People like city council people, they may not even, you need to approach them and say, look, I want to build a homeless veteran shelter in this particular neighborhood. You need to know who that city council person is or that ward person is in that particular neighborhood. And they need to become an advocate for you. All right? Get them on your board of directors. Very important to you. Write endorsement letters, make testimonials. They can open up doors for you. That's what that right introduction letters is all about. Call to set up appointments. You know, a lot of times when you go to these people, they may not hear. You say, oh, well, my name is Sally Brown. Sally who? But if Smith calls that particular funder, they are more apt to listen to that particular person. So advocates are very, very important, and make sure that you get those on your team. And as I said, make sure you get them as your board of directors as well. Here are typical parts of a grant proposal, and we go into all of these more in depth. I show you how to write a cover letter. I even show you how to write a summary, an introduction, needs statement, all of those things. I show you all of those things in the full seminar that we're going to have on July 9th. But again, we can also set up a particular webinar for your company where we can do the seminar all day long. All right. Now, these are the title page, the summary. I think this is pretty self-explanatory of what all of these things are. The needs and need statement, or the problem statement, the program objectives. In other words, the need statement is, hey, what's going on here? What do we need to fix? And then the program objective is, how are you going to fix it? So in other words, the need statement is, hey, what is the problem? And the program objective is, this is how I'm going to fix the problem. All right? All right. Well, this is what we expect to do. And then the method is, this is how we're going to fix the problem. And let's not forget about the evaluation. Okay, how are you going to prove to me, to the funder, that what you said you were going to fix got fixed? And then, of course, future funding is very, very important, because the funder wants to know, if I'm going to give you $10,000, next year is your program going to die? Your program, because if there are other people who are funding your program, then I'm more apt to give you my money as well. Here's the other thing I like to tell people. You might go in and ask for $5,000. They might give you $500. You need to take that $500. Here's why. Because what that does later on is, you can use that on your resume to say that, hey, XYZ company funded me last year. All right? Keep that in mind. So don't go in there with your nose stuck up, thinking that just because they didn't give you what you expected, that you won't take anything. It will kill your program. Now, here's the sequence of developing a proposal. Here's the need statement. In other words, the need statement is, what is the problem? This is where you're doing your research, okay? Remember that clock that I showed you? This is where you're doing your research. You're finding out what the problem is. You already know what grants you're going to look for, because that's determined in your need statement, all right? So if my need statement is, if I'm going to set up a homeless shelter for veterans, then I already know I'm going to be doing research at the beginning of the fiscal year on what is the problem. How many homeless veterans are there? Okay, are they getting health care? Do they have a place to stay? All of those things that affect homeless veterans. I'm doing research on that. And I know what you're saying, well, where do I go and do this research? Well, you simply do it, guess what? Online. I said over and over again, Google is a wonderful tool. Folks, this is not rocket science. If you really are serious about what your mission is, you can solve this problem, but you've got to do research. This is not easy. If you're in this business to make some easy money, then you need to get out of this webinar right now, for you to understand how this process works. All right? Now, you also develop your objectives. You looked at your need statement. You see what the problem is. All right? So now, what are your objectives? How do I want to attack these problems? And then your methods, your specifics on how do I go after these problems? The goal is in your objectives. Your method is, how will I attack these problems? And then you develop the evaluation, which is really not easy. That's usually from an outside source. Future funding is pretty self-explanatory. Dissemination is important. So how are you going to get the message out that you have this new shelter for homeless veterans? We want to know about that. Budget, title page, the rest is pretty self-explanatory there. Okay. Now, typical proposal sequence when reading. So when your proposal goes to the funder, they usually see your proposal. All right? Pretty obvious. Now, here's what they're doing as well. They're checking to see if you follow the RFP. So the RFP gets very specific in some cases, and they might tell you to submit your proposal in a 10-point. Guess what happens? You thought that your proposal would look prettier in a 12-point font. And you submit your proposal, and your cover letter has the 12-point font instead of the 10-point font. And do you know what happens to your proposal? It usually goes in the trash. Because what that says to them is that you can't follow simple written directions. And you won't follow directions when I give you my money. All right? And you have to understand this about funders. You might think that your organization has develop the next best thing since sliced bread. That funder really doesn't care about that. Oh, I'm sorry to hurt your feelings. They are giving this money so that they can have tax write-offs. All right, that's what these foundations do. That's what these corporations do. They have tax write-offs. And as far as the government agencies are concerned, they have to build that money in their budgets. And if they don't spend it, then of course it doesn't get in the budget next year. All right. So this is how they read it. So just remember, follow the RFP. Make sure everything that they want in the RFP, all of these things may not be in your RFP. So be aware that these are just some typical things that may be. You may not have a title page. You may not have an introduction. But then you may have all of those. So just make sure you follow the RFP to the letter. Now, here's some information about the cover letter. And as I said, if you book me to come and talk to your organization, we go into how you write a cover letter. And I put together a cover letter for people to look at. All right. But just be aware, this is typically what a cover letter looks like. Be short. Proclaim the urgency of the problem being addressed. Try to say something a little different. I know a lot of people out there are doing the same things, but try to say something a little different. Try and cite a dramatic need or uniqueness. We are the only one that's doing this, that's addressing the problem. You may be. You may not be. But try to make sure you sell that point in the cover letter. Now remember, you got to do all of this in a short letter. You don't want to write a soliloquy. Okay. Highlight the endorsements if you have. Offer to provide additional information and conclude with a commitment to follow up. In other words, make sure you tell them that I will be following up with you in the next couple of days or the next couple of weeks. Make sure you don't tell them or ask them if they want more information to contact you. They're not going to do that. There's a lot of people who are submitting for those grants, and they simply will not have the time. All right. Now, the title page is the first to be read. It should be descriptive of your project, express the end result, icons, and outputs. You can describe the client or the societal benefit, teen pregnancy, veterans. Be concise and easy to remember, and it should be 10 to 13 words. Follow that 10 to 13 words. It's the title page. Just remember that. All right. Now, a couple of things you ought to avoid are acronyms because and mythological literary references. And here's why you should avoid those. Quite often, the people that are reading your proposal, they may not be up to date on some of those acronyms. Like technical jargons and things of that nature. If you are putting together a grant and you got a lot of technical jargon in there, and that particular reader doesn't understand those things, they may not. Well, you might be passed over because they may not understand those things. All right, you might have a great grant. But if you put those types of things in your grant, then you could end up missing out on some things. So what I advise people to do just to avoid those particular types of acronyms and things of that nature. You need to be clear and concise. Remember, who is making a request, are the matching funds, and how much do you want? You'd be surprised how many people will write grants and they never ask for the money. Well, why are you writing the grant? Okay, so make sure you ask for how much do you want? Ask for the money. All right, make sure you discuss the direct client benefits of your work and de-emphasize the mechanics of what will happen and request the amount appropriate to the given pattern of the funding source. Your pre-proposal contacts. You research and that's very important, you research your funder. All right, so in other words, if you are asking for $5,000 for your homeless shelter for veterans, and let's take this back. Let's say you're asking for $10,000, and your funder is only gonna give $5,000. The most they've ever given is $5,000. $10,000. Think about that. So make sure that you are requesting the appropriate funds for the given pattern of the funding source. Okay, if they're only giving $5,000 and that's all they ever get or give, make sure that you don't get caught up in asking for more than what they ever give. All right. Now here's a little information about the introduction. It describes your agency and qualifications for funding and establishes your credibility. Basically, this is that long mission statement. I actually help you put together mission statements as well. All right. Now here's your problem need statement. It clearly documents the existence of a real need. Using case statements and describe the national need. Here, hey, let me tell you something. You don't want to introduce your opinion here. All right. Here's what you say. Here's the problem. This is what's going on. We need to fix this. This is going to hurt. This is ridiculous. You don't introduce your opinion. All right. Now, here's your program's objectives. Now, one thing I want to focus on this particular slide here is using results word as opposed to processed words. All right. It's very important when you're writing your grant that people want to hear that you're going to get something done, and you do that simply with wording. You do that simply with process with result words. So, in other words, if you fund this program, your $5,000 will increase, your $5,000 will eliminate 50 homeless veterans living on the street. It will decrease. Make sure the process, don't do things like to develop, to provide. If you're going to say provide, your $5,000 will provide shelter, will train, will produce. In other words, that two-letter, that word two will mess you up. Just make sure that's the process. Will increase, eliminate, decrease. That's what we've done to accomplish. What will be done to accomplish your goals and objectives. You do that by your key staff members. That helps with length of employment. So resumes will be very, very important. In other words, how are you gonna? Who's gonna help you do what you say you're gonna do? It also should describe some of the programs and the activities in the programs. Develop an interrelationship with the program. Describe the staff responsibilities. In other words, you've got the key staff members. What are their responsibilities? How are they going to help you disseminate this program to your needy people, or to your homeless veterans, or to the children in your community, or to pregnant wives, or to pregnant teen mothers, or to whomever? How will your staff do that? You need to make sure that that's delineated in your methods, because that funder is going to want to know that. And credibility is everything. To be honest, what can you reasonably accomplish with those methods? Don't say, hey, we can change the world in a day, because you can't. All right. Don't say we can get rid of the homeless veterans forever in my community. You can't. But what can you reasonably accomplish? All right, we talked a little bit about the evaluation. It measures the progress made by your program and determines that the money was well spent. Okay. One thing I want to stress on this slide is utilization of the third-party evaluation. That particular point there is very important. Typically, if you want to really have credibility, look for outside third-party evaluation companies who can come in and say that this particular organization did what they said they were going to do with your $5,000. And the reason that's important is because next year, number one, you're going to use that as evidence for other funders, and next year you're going to go back to that other funder and say, hey, look, you gave me $5,000 last year. Does that make sense? Now, future funding is very, very important. I talked about this a little earlier, and we'll go into depth in my seminar. But future funding really breaks down to where's this program going to be after I give you this money, after the funding source is over with. How do you fund? And here's some ways you can do it. You do membership fees, loans, you get gifts, you get endowments, you do fundraising, you might do dinners, you might do a lot of different things to make sure that your organization continues to function. All right. And if I'm a funder, I see that you're serious and you're doing a lot of things to make sure that you are going to continue to be successful, then I'm more apt to fund you as well in the future. So future funding is very, very important. And most of the time, if not all of the time, funder is going to ask you how much skin you got in the game. That's really what that boils down to. All right. Now, that's just a dummy budget right there. That really means nothing right there. But every source, every funder is going to have a budget. In other words, how much money are you going to, how are you going to spend my money? It's typically going to be itemized. Here's the thing, a lot of funders will provide you with a spreadsheet of how they want you to budget their money and how you want to report it. They'll even have people that you can call and talk to that they can walk you through. The thing is, don't get me wrong here. These funders want to fund your program if it's a good program. And if they are a good funder, many of them have organizations or people in place to help you with that. Here are just some attachments you can add to it. We go into these a little bit as well. And we're running out of time here, so I want to make sure I cover everything. We got about 10 minutes to go in this particular webinar. I hope you enjoyed it as well. Now, one of the things you want to remember here, if you are awarded or rejected, all right, make sure you send a thank you letter, whether you're awarded or rejected. Very, very important. Because here's the thing, if you follow these guidelines, you've made your pre-proposal contacts. In other words, you've developed a relationship with that particular funder, okay, or that administrator who is over the funding. So whether you make or get the grant, let's say, for instance, you don't get the grant. You send them a thank you letter and say, hey, look, I really wanted to get the grant, but we will reapply next year. I really appreciate all the help you gave me. That will stick out of that funder's mind the next time you write. Okay, you apply for the grant. Always ask for reviewers' comments. You might want to ask them, hey, look, I didn't get the funding this year. Could you give me an idea of what I did wrong so we can make sure that we tidy that up in our next proposal? You know, start preparing for next year's competition and a larger percentage who that reapply or approve for the funding. So if you make those pre-proposal contacts, you get the reviewers' comments, hey, and you reapply for next year. If you do everything right, hey, you can get your funding. Become a field reader. A lot of people are looking for field readers, and what this does for you is you understand how people write grants. That helps you to look at them. And also, check this out. Funders, by law, have to give you the winners of the grants from the previous year, especially in federal. Now, some of the private organizations may not, but the state, federal, and local agencies, they do. Make sure you check for new deadlines and ask when the next funding cycle begins. All right. Now, if you get the money, make sure you still send a thank you letter. You still have to worry about the next funding cycle because you want to make sure you're getting up to date on the funding that's going to take place next year. And of course, now the real work begins because now you got to apply the grant. Okay. Now, we said a lot today. Remember, I told you that this is actually a 4-hour seminar. There's no way on God's green earth that I can teach you how to write grants in 1 hour. Okay. Set up an in-depth seminar with your grant writing team with me in person or via webinar. All right. You'll hear me talk about teams. I'll tell you how to build a team. That's very, very important. All right. Now, let me just tell you why this is important. I tell you, and I tell you all the time, if you're running a business, you have to invest in your business. If you're running and you want a nonprofit, you have to invest in the nonprofit. All right. So what do? You typically go to grant writing seminars. All right. Now, I know for a fact, coming up this weekend, there's a grant writing seminar in Memphis, Tennessee. Particular seminar is 150 miles from where I live. All right. I know for a fact that the seminar's fees, the seminar is $595. Okay. And it's a 2-day seminar. So, for instance, if I drove from here to Memphis, or if you flew in, let's say it'll cost you $500. It's a 2-day seminar, so you have to stay overnight. So you get a hotel room for, let's say, $89 a night. We'll round up. So it's $200. You are spending $1,295 per team member. Because if you are serious about grants, remember I told you, you should have a team. You should not have one person. If you look at some of these larger nonprofit organizations, I guarantee you there are more than one person that is pursuing grants in that organization. You simply have to have that. Okay? That's the cost of a typical grant writing seminar. And your hotel and travel will vary. And so will the seminars. But remember, the seminars are going to be $500, $600, $700. They get very, very expensive. All right? So why am I telling you this? All right? So here's what you should do now. As I told you, you should set up an in-depth seminar with your grant writing team to me. Let me come to you and work with your team. $699. Now, if you remember the previous slide, just for a 2-day seminar was going to cost you one team member $1,295. That's a big difference there. Now, if you book this seminar within 48 hours of this webinar, you will receive a better discount. And if you book some of my other company seminars within 48 hours of this webinar, you'll receive 15% discount off of those. So in other words, if you book my webinar, my full seminar, within the next 48 hours, you can receive a discount. Now let's talk about that discount. Well, let's talk about what you'll get in the seminar. You'll learn how to build an effective grant writing team. You've heard me talk a lot about the team, all right? We'll dispel even more myths of grant writing. We'll learn the federal grant funding cycle even more. We'll help you locate and utilize foundations. We'll get better tips on proper proposal submission. We'll help you get your grant in the APAL. And I have templates for contact and follow-up correspondences and proposal components. This is a 4-hour seminar, so please remember that. Remember, book this seminar within 48 hours of this webinar and receive a $200 discount. In other words, remember what I told you. If you book the seminar within 48 hours, it was $699. Hours of this webinar ending tonight, it'll be $499. That's a $200 savings. Now, some of the goals we tried to accomplish today was dispelling the myths of grant writing, information on the grant funding cycle, locating and utilizing foundations, some basic proposal writing tips. Just remember, he who has the goal makes the rules. If you remember that, you can never go wrong with your grant writing. Okay? Now, information. Contact me within 48 hours today, and remember, you get a free, you get $200 off the 4-hour grant writing seminar. I can come to you. It's very easy. Just remember, you have 48 hours to book me. That's David W. Coleman. You can call me at 615-554-0568 or contact me, info@ribrub.com. And hey, by the way, go and get you some rib rub. I think you'll love it. No doubt about it. Okay, so everybody who joined me tonight, for this webinar. I hope I provided some information for you that can get you going as it relates to your team and your organization. Now, please, by all means, don't hesitate to contact me. We are ready to do some very, very good things for your organization and help you out and make sure that we help you get your grant in the APAC. Okay? So, again, I'm David W. Coleman. I really appreciate all the help that you've given me, and I appreciate you joining me as well. And be sure, there will be other webinars available for you coming up, and I'll let you know about that. And make sure you stay tuned on dynamicpowerpages.com. That's going to do it for today. Again, contact me, David W. Coleman, info@ribrub.com or 615-554-0568. I'll talk to you soon.